Cool. Okay, so on today's video testimonial, I have Alistair Wood, who has just finished his first 16 weeks working with me as part of the Executive Evolution Framework Program, which is a 16-week one-to-one coaching plan. And he's agreed to jump on the call for us to have a bit of a chat as to where he was when we first met, what he was struggling with his health, what we did to improve that situation, what his now amazing results have gotten to, and any other thoughts you might have. So, hi Alistair, thanks for joining me today.
Hi Daniel.
Do you mind just giving anyone listening to this a bit of an idea of where you were when you first reached out to me, what you were struggling with?
Yeah, so I think if I take it back quite a few years to start with, so I was kind of thinking in the context of how I got to where I was. So
Yep.
I first moved to London for work in September 2011. I was about 100 kilos then. I moved back to Scotland because of COVID, etc. in May last year, and at that stage I was just over 140 kilos. So that's kind of over a kind of 9-10 year period. There's been periods of going up and down, but the kind of curve in between that was all up. I kind of arrived back in Scotland. I did lose a bit of that weight, but if I'm honest, that was predominantly through where I was living in Scotland at the time, didn't have Deliveroo or Uber Eats. So it was just genuinely, I think that was it. There was no structure around it. I wasn't really doing anything different. You'd added me on LinkedIn maybe a couple of months before. We hadn't really spoken, but I kept seeing the posts about the results you were getting, and I was sitting at about 133 kgs. I am like 6'4", so maybe it's still way too much weight to be carrying. I kind of tried stuff in the past, but it had always kind of bit had come off, gone back on. I put on about 25 kilos in a 6-month period, and I just kind of needed to try something different that was going to kind of put some structures in place and, try and address that and somehow kind of get something that is going to be sustainable going forward. And the posts said that's what it was. So it kind of seemed I had to try something. I was at that stage, and here we are.
So 40 kg increase over a decade, which I think for anyone who's listening to this, who's an exec or a business owner or just a busy professional, because you worked in consultancy for that decade.
I'm definitely not an exec or a business owner, but there's the
similar stresses, similar pressures, being in management. And I think anyone who listens and they're like, that sounds awfully familiar. I started in the industry I'm in 10, 20, 30 years later, and the weight has just gradually crept up over that time. You mentioned that there was periods where it would go down and go up. What have you tried before we worked together? What had you tried that maybe had worked and you'd lost some timber, but it had come back on? Was there anything that sticks out that you tried in the past, had luck or not had any luck with?
Just not eating carbs, doing loads of exercise. I had tried, as part of the program, intermittent fasting is a big part of it. I had tried that before and it kind of worked, but I didn't really know the science behind it or why I was doing it. And I went through a period where I was pretty strict on my diet, exercising all the time, gave up smoking, and I gave up drinking for nearly a year. But I found that quite stressful in itself, partly especially not drinking because it's a big social part of work and your personal life. And then it basically kind of got to the stage that I kind of started smoking again and then started drinking again. And then it was kind of like everything, all bets were off and you were just kind of back where you started. And I think talking about other, you said, other people in the video that might have similar experiences, I was a bit reluctant about the video and putting this out there, but I watched some of your other clients that had done their video testimonials, and you do think you're kind of in a unique position and you think, oh, nobody else is struggling with the same stuff. But a lot of what they were saying was like, well, this is exactly what I'm like as well. So it made me more keen to do it because I think a lot of people struggle with this stuff and need to just want to do something differently.
100%. I think everyone I speak to feels like they are somehow the only person that's going through the struggles. Now, the reasons for their struggles are their own, and I definitely wouldn't decry that, but there's actually a quite a common thread for most busy professionals, male busy professionals, is we don't prioritize ourselves and our health falls by the wayside. And it takes something, either a health scare, it takes a comment being made, it takes like an inciting incident. It could be that you see a post, like my post on LinkedIn, talking about other people's progression and ability to change where they were. And that resonates enough for you to think, oh, actually, I need to give this another go. So definitely, a lot more people than you think are struggling in the same way. So there's definitely a common thread there.